Hey Grandmasters, Mike from the WCA. I hope you guys enjoyed your first class on Sunday. I did. We were missing a few of you birds because of the holiday, but everybody will catch up. I want to show you today a short video, which is really just a smaller version of the 4 o'clock video. So in case you have the energy and you want to go look at that whole thing, by all means, do it. All right, what I want to do is show you the parts that I think you should know at your level. So for example, the game that was played is e4, c5. Does anybody know the name of this opening? When black plays c5 on move 1, that's called the Sicilian defense. Okay, I'm going to write all the words that I want you to know from this video and all the concepts in the blog so that when you read it or you look at the blog, make sure you know every word and concept when you come to class on Sunday. If you don't, guess what? That's right, ask me a question. Okay, I don't want to go into detail over all of these moves, but I do want to get you to the point where there's something to talk about, like here. After those moves that I just showed you, white is down a pawn. And white went down a pawn on purpose. They didn't give the pawn away because they made a mistake. Whenever you give material away in a chess game and it's a mistake, you didn't mean it, that's a blunder or an error. When you purposely give away material, that's called a sacrifice. It was your choice to give something away. Now, why would white give away a pawn in this position? Well, if you look at the board, all of their power pieces, let me give you an idea. See this knight? It's going to get out really quickly. See this bishop? You think it's going to have any problems getting into the game? No, it's not. Big Mama? Look at her. Awesome, awesome, awesome. This guy? Same deal. And once this guy moves, just imagine him like out here in space, then this rook is going to come to that empty square or this empty square and do a lot of work on these open files. So for the price of one pawn, white is thinking, hey, it's worth it. I'm going to use those open lines to make an attack. Hope you understand that. I bet you do. Hello, Josh, by the way. I forgot to say hello. Knight to c6, knight f3, pawn e6. Don't worry about what these moves are doing. Again, if you want to find out what happened, oh, look at that open arrow. I wonder why that's there. Can you guys figure out why I put an arrow there for the 4 o'clock kids? I did it because that's an open file. There are no pawns on that file. And because there are no pawns, rooks in the future can do amazing things. I'll show you the end of this game at some point, and we'll come back and see if this C file had anything to do with it. Okay, you guys all know how to castle. Don't worry about these moves. I'm only going to stop the video when there's something I want to make sure that you birds understand. No one's ever figured out why I call my students birds. Don't worry about it. Okay. Remember the sacrifice when black was given a pawn by white, like way up here? You know, do the math. There's 7 pawns for white. I'm sorry, for black, and there's only 6 for white. So white's down a pawn. You remember that? Okay, now check this out. In this position, white gives away a piece. That's right, there's a knight on d5. Why did he give it away? I'm going to show you in a second, but that's a real sacrifice. And trust me, this guy's really good playing white. He didn't mess up and blunder his knight. Believe me, he sees there's a pawn here. So when the pawn took, and this little guy took back, the problem for black was, after he moved his knight, white made this little wedge that we talked about in class. Remember a pawn wedge in the position I showed you? I highlighted them for you. That's when one pawn is pushed against another pawn. These are little tools or weapons that players use because they can really help you. This white pawn that I'm kind of circling is so annoying. If you take it with the bishop, the queen will take you back. If you don't take it, how do you get this bishop out? And if you don't get this bishop out, whoops, sorry, you're not allowed to do that, sorry. If you don't get this bishop out, how does this rook get in the game? So it's like this, he can try that, I don't know, like big whoop. It doesn't do anything. Do you kids still say that, big whoop? We used to say that all the time when I was a kid. Oh, yeah, like big whoop. My dad would say, I'm going to take you to Playland next week if you do. And I'd be like, yeah, big whoop. Anyway, I have no idea what I'm saying. So you guys got it? Pawn wedge, right? You see it? Try to remember that. And again, I'll write all these words down in the blog for you. Okay. Bishop, I told you can't take that pawn. Anyway, let's go to the next one. And that's here. Okay? Now, watch this trick. This rook on f1, Grandmasters, right now is kind of quiet, not doing so much. So what white did here is, if you put it on e1, for example, it's gorgeous square. I mean, it's really, really powerful. But the problem is this pawn is in the way. So putting your rook on e1, trust me, that's really going to help you in your games. But every now and then you get to play something called like a pawn break or a pawn push that gives you the opportunity to trade pawns. Because if you can get rid of this pawn, that opens the e-file, and you should all see that the black king is sitting rather uncomfortably up there, where the white king is much safer hiding behind these two pawns over here, right? Okay, so after pawn f4, you can try to take that pawn if you're black, but you better not, because, if you take it with your knight, and that seems to be the most logical move. I mean, I think just, why not take it with the knight and make a trade? We are up a piece after all, right? But that is going to get you into a little bit of trouble. Look at every check and capture. Can you guys see a really cool check that white has? You can stop your video. How about queen h5? Ah, you're giving away your queen. First a pawn, then a knight, now a queen? What are you doing? Well, can you take the queen? Sure you can. Why not? If you want to get checkmated. Ouch. Can you imagine that bishop, that sneaky thing? That's checkmate. You can't take him because of the rook. The game is over. Well, if I check you with my queen and now you know you can't take it because it's a trap, how do you get out of check? Well, you're going to have to block with your pawn. And I don't know. That doesn't look so good. Well, and you'll see why in a minute. And by the way, the knight could have went back to block the check too, but I don't know. How about the same move, bishop f7, checkmate? Oh boy. So this queen h5, it looks like pawn g6 again is the only good move. Can you guys see what white would have done if this happened in the game? Queen takes pawn check. Ouch. Not good. If your knight goes back to block, you just snap off the rook. And now you have a huge threat. Huge threat. Let's make a natural move for white. For black, rather. It's like, hey, rook, what are you doing up here in the corner? Get in the game. So maybe rook c8. That looks good. Opening up on the file and trying to get something done. But then you know what? Let's give our queen away again. Now, I showed you the move this time because I'm in a good mood. So let's put her back. You find it. Queen takes bishop is an awesome move. It's crushing. It's going to be like mate in two. Can you see it, though? Queen takes. Knight takes. Checkmate in one. Can you see it? It's the same bishop. Just shoom. Awesome. Checkmate. So a little trick that went on there. Okay, let me run you through a few more moves. Don't worry about what happened. Again, if you want to find out what happened, you know what to do. Okay, here's one of my favorite in the whole game. This guy just loves to give away his pieces. In this position, he put his bishop on g5. Now, before you say, hey, I can take that. Yeah, I know, I see it. You can take it. If you take it, then the question is, what do we do to that king? Well, you're going to get hit with the move queen e1 check. And in a second, I'm going to show you why that's so strong. Okay, back it up for a minute, Buster. There we go. If you don't take it, you better find an answer to that. It's our same friend, bishop f7, checkmate. Oh my goodness. So there was the threat of checkmate. So then people who see this game for the first time say, well, why don't I take it? This is really hard. If you figure this out, I'll give you like $100 in Monopoly money. I mean it. I really will. You'd have to find the move Queen E1 check, because this queen is so sneaky. You're not just checking the king, but you also have your eye on this diagonal. I mean, like, how mean is that? Well, how do you get out of check, folks? You don't have good choices here. If you block with your queen, oh boy, it's really bad. It doesn't really matter what you block with. I can show you maybe this move, blocking with your bishop. It's probably all going to be the same. You're going to get checked by this bishop again. He just won't stop. If you go underneath him, if you do, then the bishop is going to take the knight check. Remember, it's going to be checked because you're on the same line as that rook. That's really bad. If you don't go here, rather, you have to come here, and now you see the secret of why the queen is on e1. Check. Can't come back because of that bishop. Your only move is here, and now you have checkmate in one move. Hopefully you all see it right here on c7. Okay, so let me go back to bishop g5. I'm not going to tell you why black gave away a bishop. Again, if you want to learn this stuff, you can go back and watch that 4 o'clock video. But I do want you to see the end of the game, which happened after a couple of moves. Don't worry about this stuff. Just you can do your homework while I'm moving these pieces, because I know Sophie has to do more homework, and Josh. You guys will have to figure out who these kids are. Now, I do want you here. Which piece have we not talked about? Power piece. This guy? Come on, all I did was talk about him. He did a lot. Don't go back. You don't belong over there. Go back. This bishop has done a lot. Hey, rook in the corner. Why not? Check. Black blocked the check. The rook went to d1 underneath the queen, threatening to take that pawn on that square. Black put his queen here to guard that. And then bishop f4, another one of these crazy moves. It's like, who's protecting this bishop? Thank you very much. Let me take it. Well, the reason he gave away that bishop was so that he could slip his queen in here to d6. Chess fans, that's checkmate. Bad news. So the only way to get out of this is to move the king away. Oh, by the way, the queen is like a big fat pawn wedge. Look at that. You can't move. This is just like one of the pawn wedges I showed you before. So does everyone see that that's checkmate? The king can't take her because of the bishop. So the only move would be here, and that's how we began all this. You see those lines? This is like Pin City. This pawn can't move, because if it moves, you'll be in check with the queen. So because the knight is protected by the pawn, white just said, thanks for the knight. And the bishop goes, well, thanks for the rook. And then the queen goes, thanks for the bishop. What? Well, can the pawn take? No. And actually in this position, the grandmaster playing black gave up because his rook was attacked, and there aren't that many good ways to get out of danger. Somebody in the class suggested the move rook a7, which looks great, but then you get hit with this bishop check, and the only safe square for the king would be here, and I'll show you why that's bad in a moment, or you're going to have to give up your queen by blocking it. So if you give up your queen, you're going to get in big trouble for obvious reasons, right? If you don't give up your queen, it's even worse, believe it or not. You have to come here. Checkmate in one move. Can you find it? There it is. All right, chess kids. I really enjoyed the first 2 classes, and there's a lot more students coming because we had the holiday, and several of you missed. So hopefully you can catch up, watch this video. I'm warning you, you want to go after the 4 o'clock video, go right ahead, but you're going to have to put some work into it. I would love it if you did it. Keep up with your chess kid work, all that good stuff. See you in class.